What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the maintenance series. We're creeping up on 50,000 miles on my truck, so I have a lot of maintenance I'm going to be performing on it, so I thought I'd take you along for the ride. Today we're starting off with just a basic 5,000 mile routine maintenance, and that's going to include an oil change, an oil filter change, as well as 2 air filters, and then we're going to get our tires rotated as well. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and pop the hood and let's get started.
First thing we have is our oil. I like to use this Havoline OW20 full synthetic that I get from Walmart because it has 6 cores in one box and that's exactly how much you need. Next we have our oil filter, which is just a OEM Toyota filter. You'll need an oil filter wrench along with that. This is just a standard one here. You'll also need a 1/4 inch ratchet with an extension, 14mm and 12mm sockets, and an impact as well. Of course, use gloves if you got them, and a designated oil rag. You'll also need a oil pan of some sorts to catch your old oil, and a funnel to replace with new oil. First thing you're going to want to do is take your 12mm socket and take off the 4 bolts holding your stock skid plate. With that off, you can now see your oil filter housing, which we'll get to in a little bit, but for now we're going to go further back to our oil drain plug, which is just past your second skid plate in this little U-shaped spot. Once you've identified your drain plug, I like to take off the engine oil cap and pull out the dipstick just a couple inches to give a vacuum effect when the oil starts flowing. To release your drain plug, just use your 14mm socket and be sure to have your oil pan ready. I don't know why I'm showing you the bolt here, but yep, that's the bolt. Sometimes the washer gets stuck on the truck itself, so you're just going to have to get that gently so it doesn't fall into the pan. I let it drain for about 10 minutes and I get a new washer that should come with the filter and put it right back on. Next, you'll need to drain your oil filter housing, and to do that, you'll first use your 1/4 inch extension to remove this little round metal plate. Before you take this piece all the way off, go ahead and get your oil pan ready. You're going to get this plastic piece that should come with your new oil filter. You're going to go ahead and pop it in just like so, and this should drain the oil filter housing. Once that's finished draining, you're going to pretend like it didn't take you forever to get that plastic bit off, and then just make sure you grab this O-ring if it falls. Next, you're going to take your oil filter wrench and put it onto your extension. Just make sure you line up the grooves and you should be able to take it right off. Next, I just brought the components onto the workbench so you can see them. You're going to open up your new gaskets that come with your filter. And then you're just going to oil them up so they're not dry. This is what your new filter should relatively look like depending on where you get it. You don't have to do anything special here, you just slide it on in. Go ahead and remove the old O-ring that's along the threads. It should be completely fine, but you get new ones, so you might as well replace it. When you put your new one on, just make sure you put it in this little track here and not at the very bottom. For the smaller O-ring, you're just going to put on the top here, and you're just going to have to push it in lightly. And why are you rubbing it like that so much? God damn. Okay, anyway, next I just like to put this metal piece back on right now because I can. Here I just hand tightened it until I couldn't anymore, and then I used my extension to tighten it the rest of the way. Next, get your funnel. My funnel just sits in the garage and it collects a lot of dust, so I always wash it out and thoroughly dry it before I use it. Go ahead and stick your funnel where your engine oil goes and go ahead and start filling it up. After it's all in there, I just set the box up like this and I let it drip for a couple minutes. Once you get it all filled up, we're going to go ahead and put our oil cap back on, and we're going to start our vehicle and let it run for a few minutes to get everything circulated. When checking your dipstick, always clean it, put it back in, and take it out for a proper reading. We should be sitting just between those two dots, so we're good to go. Now that we changed the oil, we're going to go ahead and go into the truck. It's still going to say maintenance required, so you have to go into the little display here and change it manually. Using the controls on your steering wheel, you're going to go over to the little gearbox. You're going to go down to settings. You're going to go all the way down to maintenance reset, and you're just going to click that, hit yes, and then you're good to go. It's going to remind you in another 5,000 miles to do some maintenance. Now that the oil is all done, moving on to the air filter. Obviously I have an aftermarket K&N air filter, which all I do is just unscrew this filter, I take it out back and spray it inside out, and I set it aside to dry before I replace it.
Buddy, look, yeah.
I do have my old stock air intake, so I will go over how to replace the filter in this. It's really easy, you don't need any tools. you just open up these two latches on the side, grab your air filter. This is what it looks like. You're gonna go ahead and grab a new one. Bam, new one. And then you're gonna put it right back where it was. Close up those two latches, and that's it. That's all. Next, moving on to our cabin air filter. Oh, you're gonna need that in a minute. Set that aside. You're gonna go to the back of your glove box. You're gonna pretend like you didn't have a bunch of trash in here before you film this, and then you're gonna see this. It says slide up and remove, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. Next, you're going to see this. It's going to have two tabs on each side, one on the left right here and one on the right. Let's go ahead and undo those and you can see your filter. So again, I have a K&N one, but it's pretty much going to look the same. Obviously with this one, I'm just going to rinse it out, let it dry and replace it. But for you, it's going to look like that. You're just going to grab a new one and put it right back in there. And repeat the steps with the plastic to close it all up. But yeah, I gotta clean this. Next, moving on to our tire rotation, you're gonna need your special socket for your lug nuts. You're gonna need a breaker bar of some sorts, the bigger the better, mine's not very big. And then you're gonna need a torquing wrench, and I set it already to 83 foot-pounds. Yeah, 83 foot-pounds is what you're gonna need. You're also gonna need a impact. You're going to need a jack of some sorts that'll reach enough, and then jack stands that will reach high enough. Next, you want to go around and break all your lug nuts. I did cut a lot out here because I really struggled with this tiny little breaker bar, but it is possible. I did get it done. You just need to find the right leverage point and persevere. Next, take your jack and try to find a good center point on the frame. You're going to go ahead and jack it up until the tires are just barely off the floor. Once you get it to that height, go ahead and take your jack stands and put them on the frame. And if you got two, please use two. If you got more than one, it's always better. Once you got your jack stands in place, go ahead and take off your lugs with the impact. For this rotation, I'm just doing front to rear, so once you switch the tires, just repeat the steps in reverse to put the tire back on. Once you put the lugs back on with the impact, just do it so they're snug. You don't want to over tighten because you want to get that torque spec correct. Once you get your jack stands out of the way, just slowly lower your truck down. Now I did cut a lot out here. I did ratchet it a few times before I reached the torque spec of 83 foot-pounds, but yeah, I just edited it out to be quicker. So you might be wondering what you do with your old oil after your oil change. I always just fill up the container that my new oil was in, and I take it straight to AutoZone. They will dispose of it free for you. Sometimes they ask if there's any metal shavings in it, but if there's not, then you're good to go. So yeah, that's everything I do every 5,000 miles for maintenance, minus some odds and ends. You might be thinking, is all this worth it when it's just so easy to take this to the dealer to get done? Well, I would rate the difficulty of all these maintenance items as a 3, so competency shouldn't be a factor here. It really comes down to convenience, so I got quotes from my dealer to compare prices so you can figure out just how much convenience is worth to you. If you stuck around this long, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.